Let's see. Carpet on the floors. Wood shingles on the wall around the bar. What is that called anyway when there's an inside wall, but it only extends from above head height to the top of the vaulted ceiling? There must be a term for this kind of interior architecture, but I don't know what it is. I could find out, but why? Some things are better left unknown. Satisfying curiosity for its own sake is great, sure, but if it's just another piece of trivia to forget, then why bother? Would it just be another example of grabbing more data from the infinite well, feeling like each time I do so, I lose something in the process? But on the other hand, knowing what it's called might be kind of cool. I could see another weird vaulted ceiling upper wall thing and think, oh, there's another lintel or chorbus or whatever. I realize I used lintel as an example, and I think that's some kind of architecture thing, but I'm quite sure it's not this. It's some kind of fireplace threshold thing or something, I think. One of those metal things sticking up that keeps the log from falling out. I don't know. I don't even think that's it, actually. I don't know. But I'm not going to go off and look it up now. Regardless of the upper wall's name or nature, the shingles themselves are the thick outdoor variety. Maybe hand-hewn from big logs like I saw them do on some kind of TV show years ago. It was some guy and maybe his son sitting outside next to a barn or something in an area that I guess might be called a woodlot, just busting out shingles from logs using an axe or some kind of sharp piece of metal plus an axe. I don't know. All that to say, they're thick and rough, but that didn't stop somebody from putting them up there on the wall back in the day. Things were different back then. The tables and chairs in this place are timeless. They might be 15 years old or 30 years old or even older. They probably aren't any younger, but there's really no way to tell at first glance. The tops of the tables are melamine or linoleum or whatever that plastic table surface is, and they're spotty with age. The chairs are pretty solid. They don't wobble. Anyway, the entire floor is carpet. The walls are adorned not in the way that an Applebee's was in the 1990s, but with a more sparing and bucolic assortment of decor, the most obvious of which are the small paintings produced by someone who I can only assume must be a local artist. They've got price tags on them, and I presume you could take one home now if you wanted, though I have no idea who I'd ask, and by the looks of it, they aren't flying off the walls. The Sunday morning staff here might not even know how to handle that transaction. The paintings are humble in size, none larger than 8 by 5 inches or so. The general theme of the paintings is animals in comedic juxtaposition, such as an ostrich wearing slouchy pink socks. I didn't look at any of the paintings beyond the ones that were visible from my seat, but I'd be a little surprised if there wasn't a Scottish Highland cow depicted among them. One of those cows with the big horns where you can't see their eyes for the hair. Probably one wearing a bandana with the American flag on it and sunglasses, maybe with the American flag on it too. A pastiche of the same ham-fisted meme you can see year-round within 15 seconds of entering any Hobby Lobby. Like the Americanified Highland cow, the paintings are themselves both excessive and reductive, stripping any meaning or subtlety from the subject and its trappings. The first painting to catch my eye from where I sit is a bear in portrait, his head and shoulders peering forward. It looks less like a portrait of a bear and more like a vessel for a caricature of a 65-year-old man named Terry, who enjoys tying flies and seeing the world, or at least the parts of his world within 200 miles of his front door, which is somewhere not far inland from here. The drooping features and aw shucks expression on the bear's face remind me of the various carved wooden bears I would see as a child when traveling south from Humboldt County along the twisty stretches of Highway 101 through the old-growth redwoods and the various tourist traps that lie scattered within. I can't begin to guess where this dowdy bear aesthetic came from. Whatever cultural thread seemed to find its way and spread this style has probably run its course by now. I guess folks like them because they're kind of funny to look at. My brother and I used to call them soppy-looking bears, which I can only assume was our way of describing their general droopiness. Sunken eyes and features, slouched shoulders, standing by themselves or sitting or leaning on something, maybe holding a sign, maybe holding a fishing pole, whatever, carved from a single large chunk of tree trunk that no doubt took someone hours to carve, using a chainsaw, the sign on the side of the road would say, but surely carved by other means as well. I wonder now what one of those bears would have cost. As a child, the family always had somewhere else we needed to be, and lingering in curiosities was not at all a possibility. Bringing a bear home would have been off the table for a variety of reasons, both aesthetic and financial. I kind of wanted one, but only for the joke of it. Imagining what it'd be like to really want one and really appreciate it at your porch is interesting. The porch seems like the only place one could live, whether in earnest or irony. Other than the bears and the Sox flamingo and some possums or something, the rest of the walls mostly have fish. Imagining what it must feel like to look at a menu set in Comic Sans font and not feel anything, not even notice. It feels like some sort of privilege. Perhaps privilege of the same sort that lets the same folks enjoy this place free of terms beyond wanting to enjoy a decent breakfast. Predictable items, American breakfast fare, the same stuff you're used to. You like it. Is that an age thing or a life thing? There's basically two kinds of folks who come here to eat. There's a good chance that both kinds walked over from the adjacent RV park. The elderly set from their fifth wheels and diesels, the younger, a generally blue-collar group who has managed to do well enough in the world to afford that trailer, or even that fifth wheel, or even just the tent, and the few days of time to come here to the coast and get away for a bit, but for whom the world and its economic and political engines feel confusing and hostile. In many ways, they're probably right. They talk about this during breakfast, but then so do the older folks too. God and guns they all value if the bumper stickers are to be believed. They like to talk a lot about the guns anyway. You could say this place is an accidental monument to a god of consumption. Recite from your hymnal with a nod, and the altar is delivered unto you. The sacrament is devoured at a pace of your choosing from the deep and wide fountain of capitalistic grace. An invitation to remember days gone by, when life was simpler, the lumber's wood grain was tighter, and it all cost a hell of a lot less. Fewer consequences, more freedom. Once you've been on top for a while, you'll always miss it when the big wheel keeps on turning and leaves you behind drifting in its wake. Do they remember when it all made sense? They never had to explain themselves to anyone. God, it felt good to be the king. But it fell away, or more to the point, in their eyes it was taken away by people living in worlds above them, worlds they have no desire to understand but despise nonetheless. It's just the way it goes. It must be hard to live and feel so powerless in a world where the values upon which you place so much of your identity have melted to spasms, desperate reactions against the slow roll of an unstoppable wave, and you don't even know it. Your house is made of sand. The line cooks are younger than you'd think, but have the set of the jaw that hints that they never really stood a chance. Perhaps they've never seen the inside of a cell, but it does feel like their presence here is part of some sort of repayment of a debt to society, but one that they maybe never actually accrued. To pay it off would mean to be given another chance, and they seem a long way from either. Their sunken eyes look like those soppy-looking bear's eyes if the world had made the bear 1,000 promises and broke them all. Terry and the campers and I can't ever really begin to understand the feeling. An enormous man orders something and asks for it to be covered in gravy. More gravy, plenty of gravy. Thank you. This place takes no offense at customizations or special requests. They are used to being accommodating, unlike menus you see in newer, trendier restaurants, where the items cost more, and not only does it say no substitutions on the bottom of the menu, it also says something smug next to it like, trust us, it's good how it is. I read that and I smile and nod in the way that the folks here smile and nod when they see that bear painting. Like any good dive bar, this place has no self-awareness. Nothing about it is curated in any modern sense of the term. The decor is mainly centered around traditional outdoors activities such as hunting and fishing, like the little business card holder by the front door that says, "Fish stories told here," and other such items scattered around that feel like a pheroma of a dying age. Where would one even go to buy that business card holder today? And again, where was it originally purchased? It doesn't matter. None of that matters. Nobody's asking these questions. Guaranteed nobody's even noticing beyond a passing glance and maybe a smirk or a chuckle. That chuckle comes from knowing you're in a place that feels safe, a place where you feel anchored, perhaps a moment of relief from a world that seems to be changing faster and faster and is increasingly confusing. For me, I can only delve into this mindset so far. It's not that the world isn't changing faster and becoming increasingly confusing to me too. I just have different anchor points, I guess. There's a certain amount of blissful ignorance that this place invites, an invitation to join in the shared myth, and here I am on the outside looking in. Relative to 10 or 20 years ago, the prices have gone up here, sure, but they're still pretty cheap relative to most places, especially those in more populous areas. A half order of biscuits and gravy is still $5.50, a price that I'm guessing hasn't budged too recently. Grandparents can come and drink coffee and eat a light meal and pay with a $20 bill and still have a buck or two left to leave for the girl, as their generation might say. Very little context is given for the menu's items, nor is any needed. The most evocative might be the fisherman's special, 2 eggs, 2 cakes, or 1 waffle, buckwheat at $2.45, and 2 bacon or link sausage, patty sausage at 75 cents, for $11.95. There are at least 5 pancakes variants available. It's unclear if the peach and pecan pancake has the good stuff mixed into the batter or just placed on top. The only thing made clear about the omelets is that they're made with 4 eggs. They're all named in the singular, starting with "the," but they're more a description than a name. Do they even have a name? The chili relleno with roasted poblanos, jack cheese, and chili relleno sauce. The taco with taco meat, cheddar, onions, tomato, olives, salsa, and sour cream. The tutti frutti with bacon, cheddar, artichoke hearts, avocado, and sour cream. They feel purely instinctual, and to say anything more would be tautological. I order an omelet, the chili relleno, etc. I get the side of mini pancakes with it instead of toast for no extra cost. The food arrives in relatively short order. My mini hotcakes are delivered on their own small plate with mini jelly jars, one filled with imitation maple syrup, the good corn syrup kind that pours on thick and wicks off a spoon and is cheap to boot, and the other container holding 2 prepackaged pats of butter. I start here, unwrapping one of the 2 pats of butter, slicing off the first third and spreading it on the lowest of the 3 pancakes. I proceed to do the same for the second and third pancake, using the second and third portions of the butter. After they've been buttered, I distribute the imitation maple syrup among the 3 layers, leaving the greatest portion for the top, upending the little jelly jar such that the syrup spills more or less evenly down the sides of the mini hotcake stack. I pick up my fork and dive in, using the edge of the fork to slice off 3 bites of pancake at a time, one from each mini pancake. They are perfectly fluffy, laden with fatty sweetness from the butter and imitation maple syrup, and with that pancake flavor and texture that I can never seem to replicate at home. I don't know what it is about restaurant pancakes, specifically those from this particular kind of restaurant. The word malt comes to mind. I know I've heard it in conjunction with restaurant pancakes or pancake batter or pancake mix, but I don't know what relevance that word carries, if any. Regardless, there's just something about diner pancakes that hit different. I finish the stack and switch over to the omelet, which the waitress referred to as a chili relleno omelet in an unintentional butchering of the Spanish word. Before I've even swallowed the last bite of pancake, I'm cutting into the omelet. The top is covered with a red salsa that probably came from one of the large empty plastic salsa tubs sitting on the far end of the bar labeled Reese's Baja Cafe. Actually, I suppose if the menu is to be believed, it's not salsa but chili relleno sauce, or relleno sauce, or whatever. It is fine. Unmelted shredded cheese adorns the top of the chili relleno sauce, without hope of the omelet's heat reaching through the cold blanket of sauce. It's white, the cheese, and might as well be mozzarella. It doesn't matter. I take several bites, occasionally mixing in some of the hash browns that sit next to the omelet. Hash browns that I've crisscrossed with lines of ketchup from the generic Cisco brand squeeze bottle the waitress brought out with our meal. She also brought out some Tabasco, the red kind and the green kind. I don't feel like using either of them, though I do like the green. The omelet is filled with the right amount of green chilies and cheese anyway. It is good. As we reach the end of the meal, my daughter leaves her seat across from me and comes over, wanting to sit in my lap, me full of chili relleno omelet, and her with banana pancake, where the bananas were both in and on the pancake, plus whipped cream, which she ate first of all. I scoot my chair back, and she climbs up and snuggles into me. She's getting tall now, over 4 feet and 6 years old, and I know that we might not have too many more years of this absence of self-awareness, this absence of the rules and awkwardness with which children seem to inevitably impose upon themselves as their minds and identities and bodies grow. One of these days, she'll climb up into my lap for the last time, and I won't even know it. Indian Creek Cafe feels not so much like a place out of time as much as it feels like a place behind time, but one that will inevitably be swept along into the rural Pacific Northwest's dustbin sooner or later to make way for something newer and more self-aware and less shingly. In the meantime, though, here it is, plodding along with no concerns beyond the next wholesale order, the next shift, whether or not the new point-of-sale system will ever work right. A safe space for the whoever's and the campers and the fixed-income retirees and the older folks who will never quite know just how good they had it. And for me, back on the road to home, 3 hours to fill, I feel more or less contented, a little full, maybe the imitation maple syrup weighing a little on the heavy side, and something else pulling at me as well. A sneaking suspicion of some kind of finality, an end of an era, but which one, and for who?